Hey Dana. Hi.
Yep.
With the formation of TKO, Stephanie McMahon said last year that WWE was looking at boxing. You've dabbled with the idea before. Is there room in the organisation for a boxing company?
Yeah.
Is it one you would create or one that TKO would look to buy an existing company?
I would create.
Could you elaborate?
Huh?
Could you elaborate?
No.
You've got a show on September 16th, so like Mexican Independence Day and Cinco de Mayo are so closely associated with boxing and Mexican fighters and Floyd Mayweather. Can we see that going forward, where UFC is going head-to-head with boxing for these key dates in the calendar? Because TGB Promotions and Premier Boxing Champions did have that date at T-Mobile Arena, but they've now gone to September 30th for the Canelo-Jamel Charlo event.
Yeah, I mean, for the last however many years, you know, sometimes we end up battling over the same dates, but it always works out. It's not like there's going to be any, you know, listen, we go pretty much every Saturday. So we're going to run into other things.
Sure. One more on Sean Strickland. It looked like he put out a video where he might have already broken the UFC belt and he was putting it back together with duct tape. Had you seen that?
I have not. Plan on seeing lots of things over the next 7 months, though.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Dana?
Yeah.
Can you share what you went back and talked with Casey Tanner and AJ Cunningham? Obviously, you gave them their win money, but can you share what you told them?
Just respect, man. So much respect, and you know how I feel about the show, and you know how I feel about the matchmaking of this show. And when these guys show up and just do what these kids did tonight, it's fucking awesome. I mean, I thought tonight was the first night that I've ever walked up into the octagon during the Contender Series. Apparently, Little Miss Know-It-All said it was the second time that I've done it. But yes, I love this shit. Love it.
Sean Strickland's post-fight interview got 2.6 million views, which is one of the largest in quite some time. What do you think that is? Is it just people wondering what the hell he's going to say, or is it just the star power?
2.6 million views on what?
On YouTube is Sean Strickland's post-fight interview.
The octagon there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. So on Instagram, I have 8.3 million followers. Me wrapping the belt on them is 16 million views. Yeah. So DC was telling me on the flight back, he did interviews with him on his YouTube channel, and it was the biggest he's ever done, or something like that. And yeah, if you saw, you know, there was a lot of hype around Strickland early. He lost a couple, hype kind of died down, he came back, and he won the world title. People are fascinated again.
Do you think it's just people are wondering what the hell's going to come out of his mouth, or is it star power?
I don't know. I just think I think people love an underdog. He was such a big underdog in that fight. He came out and won, and you know, like she was saying earlier, you know, people were like, "Oh, don't take away the fact that Strickland won the fight." And yeah, good for him. I love that shit. I love the support he's getting. It's great.
Were you surprised that Israel Adesanya didn't speak at the press conference? He came in, said something, and then dipped?
Yeah, so I asked him, I told you guys that night, I asked him in the octagon, I said, "You okay?" He said, "I'll talk to you later." I bumped into him in the back, and he told me about as much as he told you. So, yeah, it was strange.
And then finally, was there any communication to try and get Cain Velasquez at the event this weekend?
Was there any what?
Was there any communication of trying to get Cain Velasquez at the Noche UFC event this weekend?
I don't think so. Cain was in town. We just shot something recently, and he was here. I don't know if he's still here. Yeah, I have no idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see no taking.
Well, look who flew in for the Contender Series.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking right after. In terms of the UFC Noche, is that going to be an annual event? Like, are you going to book the arena every year for that particular date?
Well, the question is, do we continue to do that date? Do we do Cinco de Mayo? Do we bounce around? I don't know yet. This is our first one. We'll see how this year plays out as far as Mexico goes, and I don't know. We'll go from there.
Have you heard anything in terms of people coming in for the event from Mexico?
Have I heard that?
Like in terms of the numbers, like, you know, is it going to be a massive amount of people that are coming specifically for the event?
I have no idea. I would assume that there are lots of Mexicans coming to the event. You know, yeah, I would imagine. I don't have a tally of how many are coming over to see the fight.
Yes, keep good metrics. Last one for you. You mentioned kickboxing and kickboxers coming over to do MMA because there's more money and more lucrative. Every time you come up with, you know, doing boxing events, why not just go right into kickboxing? That seems to be much less of a barrier to entry here in North America. And we often see fans, you know, there's a lot of grappling involved in MMA. They kind of rip it and they want to see action fights and striking. When you watch Glory Kickboxing, K1, like, the action is unreal. Why not delve into that area where there's, again, a bit less of a barrier to entry, less sanctions, etc.?
It never worked. Never worked. For whatever reason, kickboxing never worked. So back in the 80s, when I was a kid, I was a huge boxing fan. And kickboxing used to be on ESPN. They used to call it Kick of the 80s. And then it was going to be the something of the 90s. And then we went into the 2000s. And, you know, it never took off. Tell me the last time you saw a big kickboxing match. And there's been plenty of big fights with big kickboxers that's pulled big gates and the world cared and everybody wanted to tune in. It's never happened since the 80s.
Yeah, it's just in the Netherlands they have big events every.
Huh?
In the Netherlands they have Glory Collision seems to do really well, but I just feel like it has never really been properly promoted in North
How
America.
well? Lots of guys tried to do it. Lots of people. It was on ESPN when ESPN was the biggest, fucking most powerful, you know, sports network on cable, and you know, it didn't have all the competition that it has now, and it just never worked. And yeah, I know it's like saying, you know, when you say, oh, it did well in the Netherlands, it's like saying Muay Thai did great in Thailand. It's like, you know, okay, but it doesn't translate to the rest of the world.
Definitely.
You guys going with me? Have a good night.